Hey everybody, I'm Becky Adams. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel today. Today I wanted to talk to you for just a minute before we get into the process video portion of this video. Today we will be creating this 12 by 12 layout, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Austin's library project. Austin is my son. He passed away on July 4th of 2018. So we are nearing the 4-year anniversary of his passing. Each year around his birthday, which is July 2nd, and around the anniversary of his passing, we do Austin's library project. And what that consists of is we work with a local school that we absolutely love and spend a lot of time there. And we create a wish list of books that they would like to have in their library. So we create that wish list through Amazon, and then about this time of year, so the end of June, 1st of July, I share that link on my social media, and you are able to go in and purchase a book or as many books as you'd like, and then you click on the name Justin Adams when you go to check out and have need the shipping information, and then those books ship directly to our home where we unpackage them and we put a little label inside the cover that says that it was donated in Austin's memory, and then we deliver those books to the school in August. So I am teaming up with some of my dear friends here in the scrapbook industry and here on YouTube, and they are creating videos to share with their viewers as well, to spread the word and to ask for your help in making this project successful. So not only can you donate books, but we've also made it we've got PayPal links and a Venmo link so that if you are out of the country, you can also, or if it's easier for you, whichever, you can donate monetarily instead of sending a book. So in the description box below, you will find a link to the Amazon wish list, and you will also find a link to if you would like to donate via PayPal, or if you would like to donate via Venmo. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need help from me in any way. I am happy to help you. And I want to thank you in advance for supporting me and my family and always being so kind and so generous to donate to this project. So I think that's everything. Other than please go down and in the video description below, you will find the links to all of my friends' videos. And if you would just go watch their videos and maybe give them a comment and tell them thank you. It's a lot of work to put a video together, and these women have very busy schedules, and I am so grateful to them for taking time out of their schedules and making the time to help me with this project. So thank you again in advance, and let's jump into the process video. Okay, now let's jump in and get creating with this layout. So this layout tells the story of the Austin's Library project in 2021. So the products that I have that I got started with is there's a star die from Ellie's Studio, and I cut out a whole bunch of those stars using the 6x6 paper pad from the Life Right Now collection. I believe that's what it's called, from Pink Fresh Studio. So I have two 6x4 photos that I am using on this layout, and I wanted them to kind of stand out away from that white background because the photos have white borders. So I'm just creating basically another thin border around my photos to make them really stand out off of the page. I want my photos to be the star of the show here. So for the background, I have this piece of gray pattern paper that's going to be the base layer. And then I have a piece of white cardstock that is actually the packaging from the Life Right Now 12 by 12 paper pack. But Pink Fresh Studio prints their packaging on the same paper that they actually print their pattern paper. So it's a really nice, heavy, matte quality piece of white cardstock, and so I figured that I would use that on my background. So after cutting out the center of that of my background so that I could save that pattern, I'm just using a 1/4 inch double-sided tape from scrapbook.com and going around the edges of the square, and then I'm removing just a little bit of that backing as I place the white cardstock on top of that. And I do that so that not everything is stuck down if I get something crooked or something's not quite right. I have just a little bit to peel up instead of the entire page. When I have everything placed like I want it, then I just flip it over and remove the rest of the backing. So now that I have my background done, I want to work on my title and journaling. So I obviously have my journaling already printed. I'm not going to adhere it just yet, but I just laid it there to make sure that I have the spacing and I leave plenty of room for my journaling. So I did a fun technique that I do often when I am working with die cut letters. And that is to cut the letter or number out multiple times on white cardstock. In this case, I cut it out, each letter cut out 6 times out of white cardstock. And then I'm just stacking them together with a little bit of liquid glue in between each layer. And then on the top layer, I add that pattern paper. So it looks and feels like a chipboard, a piece of chipboard. So it's got a really substantial look with a bit of dimension as well. So I'm going to adhere my photos, and I'm using a T-square ruler just to make sure that I have everything straight. So after adhering my photos, I'm just kind of playing with my journaling and letters to make sure that I know exactly where I want my title. So I tried in the beginning to use a tape runner to adhere these letters just because it would be a little bit quicker than the liquid adhesive. That was not a great idea, friends. It didn't work at all. Just stick with the liquid adhesive here. I am using Barely Arts glue. There's a link to it in the description box below. I personally really like it. Initially, I wasn't so sure. I kind of like, I've been using art glitter glue for years. So the Barely Arts has a little bit of a thinner consistency, so it took me a little bit to get used to it, but I really do like it. I would recommend both art glitter glue and the Barely Arts glue. So I put my heavy stapler just on top of those numbers that I had adhered. I just wanted to make sure they stuck down and weren't going to shift on me while I was adhering the word books below it. So I'm just using that liquid adhesive. That K is a little bit tricky because it has the bottom portion of the K goes so much lower than the rest of them that I had to keep my ruler in the same spot, but I wanted, it didn't adhere the entire letter. So I just hold that in place for a minute to make sure that it's stuck down really well, and then I come back to and adhere the bottom portion of that. So while I was holding down that letter K, I reached in and found some of the stars that I cut out. These are the biggest ones, and I just kind of laid them around the page where I think I might want them to go. I did stitch around or stitch on these stars. You'll be able to see that better in the close-ups here at the end of the video. And that's where I was just adhering the bottom portion of that K and just kind of holding everything to make sure that it stays in place. So I realized that I wanted my photos to be shifted down just a little bit and to have an equal margin on the top and the bottom so that I had an easier time balancing out the embellishments. So I just need to, as I mentioned, I stitched around these hearts, and so I just need to trim off that excess thread before I start adhering them to the background. So I did just stitch around the biggest stars. Excuse me, did I say hearts just a minute ago? I meant stars. But I kind of wish that I had stitched around some of the smaller stars as well because I really like the texture. But I did just stitch around the big stars for this project. So I'm just taking the other stars that I have already die cut and just placing them around the layout. So I have 3 main areas that I'm going to embellish to create a visual triangle around the layout. On this one over on the right side of the layout, there is not much room for embellishment, and I don't want to cover up all of my photo. So I'm taking that red star and I just tucked it underneath my photos. And then the rest of them I will put on top of the photos. But that one was just too big and it was going to cover up too much of the photo. So there's kind of some white space in the photos. I want to be really careful to not cover up anyone's face or any of the books. These photos were taken in the gym when we went and presented the books to some of the students and the staff at the school. And so they're not great photos, honestly, because they were taken in a school gym. And I think you all know how photos in a school gym turn out. So there is a lot of white space on these photos that I don't mind covering up. So I'm just using some foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L to adhere some of the stars. I wanted these stars to be really dimensional and have a lot of layers. And even on this back star, or I guess the biggest star here on the bottom left, I wanted that to pop off the page. And so I have these 1/8 of an inch foam strips from Scrapbook.com. I use these all the time, and they were the perfect way to adhere these stars. So I'm just taking the strips and cutting off little bits and pieces to fit on that star. And then here in just a minute, I will start adhering those. So just removing the backing and throwing that away just there in my little, I try to, I don't always remember, but I try to keep a little trash can there on my desk so that I can throw those little bits and pieces away. Sometimes after I'm done filming, it looks, my office is a disaster. So I'm trying to prevent that here. So on this star, that kind of lighter blue one, I layered 2 foam squares on top of each other to make that really pop off the page. Not just, I wanted it 1 layer above the star that I had already popped up. I'm going to do the same on this star, I believe it's yellow, that is going up at the top. I tore I was kind of getting in a hurry, and I started tearing the foam strips instead of trimming them off with scissors. And it actually worked pretty well. You just have to really, like, I put my fingernail down on the foam strip so that it didn't go anywhere as I tore it off. And then just again removing the backing pieces, the release paper. And then we'll go ahead and place that star right there above that top photo, and using, anyway, just overlapping on some of the white space of the photo. Again, I used 2 layers of foam squares on that multicolored star so that it popped off the page and stood up above the yellow star. And then the star on the top, I did just use some liquid adhesive. I could have put another layer of foam adhesive. That would look really cool, but it would have meant cutting down a lot of foam squares, and I just wasn't feeling it at the time. So now I'm bringing in a few more embellishments. I have my photos and title and journaling in place. And I've got my main embellishment on the embellishment cluster, so it's time to just finish those off. And I had in mind using some other embellishments, like there was a stack of books that I wanted to use. But I just really liked how the stars looked, and I felt like it kind of looked funny when I tried to add in other embellishments. So I'm just sticking with those stars. Aside from the 2 labels that are on the bottom of the bottom photo. And in one of those, I am going to stamp the date. I'm using Paige Evans' new date stamp that goes with her Splendid collection. I will link that in the description box below. I'm using just plain black ink from Scrapbook.com, stamping on a piece of scratch paper to make sure that I have everything correct before I stamp on the label. And then in that red label, there is a puffy sticker that says "Feeling all the feels," and I felt like that was fitting for this project, because it is definitely an emotional day when we put this project, or take this project over to the school. So there at the top, it says, that sticker says "Happy in this moment." And I will go ahead, I should have adhered my journaling a long time ago, but I think I actually thought I did, and I hadn't. And then I will just add some of the stars that I kind of sprinkled around the page. I adhered with either a tape runner or glue so they're flat against the page. But some of them I used a foam square to adhere it, just because I wanted there to be a variance in the height in all of those stars. Here in just a minute, I will be adhering like the tiniest little stars you've ever seen. I think it'll be kind of hard to see them on camera, but I will show more of them in the description box below. So the blue star there up at the top, I just adhered that with the liquid glue. One thing I will say about liquid glue that has a fine tip when you're putting, like, you put a pin in it so that it doesn't dry out. Keep that pin in it unless you're just using it. I put the pin in between pieces. I keep it in there as much as possible. So those little strips in the middle, there's one that says "This is what it's all about." That's the yellow one. And then the white one says special memories. There on the right side, I was having a hard time getting that star to stick. And so I just went in with a little bit of liquid adhesive to make sure that it stayed in place. Just filling in those little gaps with more stars. Friends, this is an awesome star die set. I think you'll find me using it in a lot in future projects. And I know that Ellie sells out of her dies, so make sure and grab it if you're at all interested in the die set. And then just finishing things off. I don't put any extra stars around this star cluster on the right. Most of them are around the title, and then just a couple up there at the top. And I'm just putting the tiniest little star. It looks just like a red dot up there, but I promise it's a really cute little star. And so I'm just adding those to finish things off. I kind of play around for just a minute, but this is how the layout turned out. So I really want to thank you in advance. If you donate to this project, it really does mean the world to me, and it helps to keep Austin's memory alive for our family, which especially for his mama is really important to me. So thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new here, I would love to have you as a new subscriber. Remember, all of the information that you need for this video is in the description box. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you again for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon.